Story 1. Am I wrong for going on a date night with my wife's friend? I went out for dinner with one of my wife's friend last week when my wife was out of town. I wanted some honest opinions on if I did something wrong here and how big of trouble I am in. So, to give full context, my wife was away for a week visiting her parents. She has a friend Amanda who she has been friends with for many years. Amanda has had a rough patch, where she broke up with her boyfriend and also lost her job. My wife has been supportive of her. Last week, Amanda had an interview and asked my wife if she could give her a ride home from the airport. As my wife was out of town, and my office is near the airport, my wife asked me if I can give her a ride on my way back from work. I did not have any plans and agreed. Amanda and I are not really friends, and I only interact with her when we meet socially. I told Amanda to message me when her flight gets to the airport, and I can pick her up. I picked her up around 6 p.m. and we were driving home. We were just having small talk about the new company she was interviewing at and her work in general. Amanda told me she does not have any food at home and if we can stop by at a drive-thru so that she can pick up some food. I was also hungry, and I suggested we can stop by somewhere and have quick dinner before I drop her home. She agreed and started searching for places on the way. She punched in an address to a restaurant on the way and we drove to that place. We did not know this, but this place was pretty fancy Italian restaurant. She said, "This looks too fancy," and I said we are already here, so let's eat. I messaged my wife we are getting dinner, and she said okay. We had a pretty fun evening and a nice dinner. She had a few drinks, and I did not since I was driving. We generally never talk much, but she opened up to me and we had a very nice chat. I never knew Amanda and I had so much in common and liked the same music and movies. I did not notice, but we were at the restaurant for 1.5 hours. Amanda was taking pictures during dinner and also asked the server to take our picture at the end of the meal. I dropped Amanda home, she gave me a quick hug and said thanks for such a nice evening. I called my wife, told her I dropped Amanda and am heading home. She seemed busy and I just let her know I reached home and said good night. This is where things got a bit weird. Amanda messaged me around 11 p.m. saying thanks for the ride and she had a good time. She sent me our picture together. I saw the message and just liked it to acknowledge it. Later that night, Amanda shared some of the photos from our dinner on her Instagram, including our photo together and captioned it as dinner with friend. I am not friends with Amanda on Instagram and did not see it. Next morning, my wife called me and asked me how my date night with Amanda was. I laughed it off and thought she was teasing me, but my wife sounded pissed off and kept on asking me about all the details like when I got home, which I was happy to provide. That night, my wife called me again and told me that Amanda told her about the night before. The issue was Amanda made the dinner sound way nicer than what it was. She kept on praising me for how I was a gentleman, and treated me better than most of her dates, how I am a good listener, paid for the whole thing, etc. I feel Amanda also added fuel to the fire by telling my wife all the wonderful things I did for her during the evening. My wife feels I should have asked her before inviting Amanda to such a fancy place for a romantic dinner. She was also pissed that hundreds of people liked Amanda's post on Instagram and she feels disrespected that her husband is going out on date night with her single friend when she was out of town. She also jokingly asked me how our goodnight kiss was, and I told her it was just a hug. That seemed to make her angrier. I have not even told her about the late night message from Amanda, and me liking the picture with a heart emoji, because I am too scared at this point. I wanted to ask if I was wrong to invite Amanda for dinner, when both of us were starving and it was dinner time. Do you think my wife is wrong and overreacting to all of this? I was just being nice to her friend, who she asked me to drive home. I also communicated with my wife all through the night and she seemed okay with it at the time. She only got offended after she saw Amanda's Insta post. Should I call Amanda and tell her to talk to my wife and explain it was just a friendly meal and I was not being inappropriate? Update. The next day. I made a post yesterday about going out for dinner with my wife's friend when my wife was out of town visiting her parents last week. She posted our photos on Instagram and it would be an understatement to say that my wife was not happy about it. I have been getting cold treatment from her since the incident. A lot of the comments made me believe that I did something really horrible. However, I knew in my heart that I did not have any wrong intentions and decided to just be honest with my wife. She came home yesterday evening and I went to pick her up at the airport. I went on my charm offensive and got some flowers and chocolates on my way. While my wife was happy to see me after 2 weeks, I could see she was a bit annoyed by me. I asked her if she wants to stop by for dinner at a restaurant and she gave me a look and told me to keep driving and we will order takeout. She also asked me to cut the bullshit and be normal. After we reached home, we settled in and I got the dinner ready. I decided to be direct and asked her why the incident is really bothering her. I told her that I know she is not an insecure person, and she also knows I would never put myself in an inappropriate position. While I understood why she would be annoyed by the situation, I would not expect her to doubt me. She was the one who trusted me to pick up her friend in the evening from airport. As it was dinner time, and her friend said she was hungry, it would have been rude of me to not offer to get food for her. Also, my wife knows that I always offer to pay for dinners, irrespective if it is my friend's or hers. It is just the way I was brought up, and we have fights during family gatherings on who gets to pay. I asked her what was the thing that was exactly bothering her and why she was okay during the night when I kept her updated about everything, but got upset in the morning. My wife told me that the whole situation smelled funky to her. She told me that she does not doubt me one bit that I had any wrong intentions. However, the optics of it all was really bad for her. She said that she is not upset at me getting dinner for her friend. She would expect me to do that, and Amanda also appreciates it. She said that the issue started early morning when her mom barged into her room to show her Amanda's post. Her mom thought I was going out with Amanda behind my wife's back. My wife told her that she knew I took her out for dinner and told her about what happened. She then got a lecture from her mom about how naive she was, and this is how affairs start. My wife said that it annoyed her a lot. Her mom also looked up the restaurant and told my wife that it was a very pricey place and was voted best place for romantic dates by some magazine. She said her mom completely freaked out after seeing my picture with Amanda. So, my wife looked up our credit card statement and realized I had spent a lot on the meal. She also said that Amanda has a huge social media following on Instagram and posts a lot. I think she is like a fitness influencer or something, but I don't really follow her. Even though most of the pictures in her post were of food, the last photo of me and her looked like a boyfriend reveal as we were sitting next to each other. She told me I won't understand as I am not on Instagram, but this is how people announce they are dating someone nowadays. As the day went on, Amanda got more than 1K likes on the post, while a lot of people commenting and saying we looked nice. She was annoyed Amanda did not correct any of them. So, she called Amanda in the evening to ask her to take the last picture down. However, Amanda kept on praising me and how I was charming and fun. Amanda told her that for all these years, she felt I was snobbish and pretentious. I am a huge introvert, so I come off that way, but she was wrong. My wife said this was annoying because she has never seen me be charming with any of her friends before when she is around. Amanda was talking about all my favorite bands, and how we should all go to see a concert sometimes. Amanda told her she posted our photo because she has never been treated to such a nice place before and wanted to acknowledge me in the post. My wife never asked her to take down the picture because of that. She then had a lot of questions for me as to when I dropped her off, why I walked her to the apartment building door, and when I got home. I told her I can show you exact times and receipts for everything, but do we really want to be that couple who questions each other about every little detail? She can check when we got the credit card charge, the messages I sent her after dropping Amanda and our Ring camera in garage and come to her own conclusions. She asked me if she thought Amanda was flirting with me during the night, and I told her that was not the case. In fact, Amanda messaged me our photo at night, and I just sent an emoji instead of engaging in a conversation, mostly because I was busy with my video game. That chapter was closed for us, and neither Amanda nor I messaged each other after that. Amanda is my wife's friend and I do not intend to be close friends with her anyways, as I have my own friends. I also insisted to her that Amanda was not inappropriate in any way during the night and maintained proper boundaries. So, this incident should not affect her friendship with Amanda. In fact, if Amanda had any bad intentions, she knew my wife was out for the rest of the week and would have tried to message me again. But, she forgot about the evening and so should we. Overall, my wife seems to be back to normal after the conversation. My wife is not an insecure person. I could see why she would be annoyed by the situation. However, I know in my heart that I will never disrespect our marriage and I had no reason to be sneaky or lie about the situation to her. I am glad we talked it through, and I was able to answer all her questions. Thanks again for all your suggestions. Story 2. What do I do about our Aunt 58F freaking out because I 26F didn't wear makeup? This weekend the family met up for Memorial Day. Just a casual family hangout for the holiday, nothing formal or any big event to celebrate. Even though I used to when I was younger, I pretty much never wear makeup anymore except on formal special occasions because it damaged my skin when I wore it every day. My aunt semi-recently moved back to the States after spending over 6 years living in various places in Europe, and this is the third time we've had a family gathering with her since she got back. The previous 2 times the family got together it was a more formal occasion and I wore makeup and a dress both times. This time I wore my normal clothes, shorts, a button-down, sandals and no makeup. The rest of my family was more or less as casual as I was, but all the women wear makeup on a daily basis except for me. I noticed my aunt was acting really strangely around me, and when I asked her if everything was okay, she turned it around on me and asked if I was sick. I said no, I'm fine. She said, so why do you look like that? And I didn't know what she meant at first, but she kept pressing until I realized she meant I wasn't wearing makeup. I was kind of annoyed at her being so bothered by this, but I tried to stay calm and explained that I only wear makeup on special occasions. I really should not have said this, because this apparently ruined her whole weekend. She started freaking out about how I don't consider seeing her to be a special occasion and ended up leaving the family gathering early and in tears. The next day was the Memorial Day parade, and it was my nephew's first time marching in the marching band, so kind of a special occasion, but still casual. My aunt, however, still angry from my special occasion comment, showed up in stained pajamas with her hair unbrushed. When my mom asked her to explain herself, she just said, well, me, doesn't think it's a special occasion, so why should I bother? She attended the parade like that and repeated that line every time someone asked if she was okay, or why she was dressed like that. The rest of my family thinks she's being unreasonable, but that it's also on me to talk her down from this grudge she's holding, or else she's going to keep acting out. What do I do? Update. 2 days later. Hi all, there have been some unexpected developments in this situation that I wanted to share. Despite that most of you suggested that I just ignore her, I felt a sense of obligation, and was under a lot of familial pressure, to try to get her one-on-one and attempt to communicate. Yesterday I brought her a fresh-baked loaf of bread as a gesture of goodwill and called and told my uncle to warn her that I was coming over to talk. He had been off visiting his own parents over Memorial Day weekend, so he'd only heard about her freak-out. It did not go well. I tried to gently explain to her that when I said special occasion I meant formal occasion, and that I always think it's special to see her and the rest of the family. She completely rejected my explanation and said I can't tell someone they're not special and just turn around and say never mind, and said some nasty things about my appearance since I again was not wearing makeup. She finished out by taking the loaf I made for her and making sure I watched as she threw it in the garbage. At this point I said, I tried, I'm done, I can't help you, and left. My uncle stopped me as I was leaving the house looking really upset. I assumed he was just embarrassed over my aunt's outburst, but he asked me to take a walk with him so he could talk. We walked around the neighborhood and he apologized for how my aunt has been acting but started to cry. When he was able to talk again, he admitted that the reason they had come home from traveling in Europe is that my aunt had been diagnosed with early onset dementia. A lot of people were making jokes about that in the responses, but it turned out to be the actual explanation. She had never been on a hair trigger like that before she started showing signs. He wanted to keep it private until they weren't able to keep it private anymore, and he was having a hard time accepting that that time had already arrived. We cried together for a while and he agreed that he needs to start the process of telling the family about her condition and looking into getting her some extra help. I talked to my mom about it afterwards, and she's really upset. She was scared that something like this might be the case because the way she showed up to the parade looking like a mess was so out of character, and that's why she wanted me to try to resolve it. She assumed that such a reaction meant I must have done something for it to at least partially be my fault. A lot of people had assumed she was just a lifelong narcissist who always acted out to get her way, but this is new behavior for her. Ultimately, I'm glad that I tried to make amends if it led to the truth. I quickly went from resenting my aunt to feeling extremely bad for her. Dementia runs in my family, but it usually takes till the late 80s or early 90s to set in. To deal with a disease that attacks her mind and personality so young is so awful for her, for my uncle, and for their kids. So yeah. If your older loved ones suddenly start acting nasty in a way that they've never been before, maybe that's not nothing. Watch out for yourselves and your loved ones, y'all. Story 3. Yesterday I went to a furry event with my boyfriend and I think now I got the ick. I feel bad for that. I didn't even know what a furry exactly was before I met him. We were together for literally 3 whole years until we moved in together. I found one of his furry outfits while I was helping him move his clothes into our apartment. At first I thought that maybe at some point he had worked in children's shows or selling things in the subway. In my country it is normal to see people in costumes selling things. Then I also found a common foxtail and thought it was something kinky, but it's not. He got nervous and confessed to me that he is a furry. I looked at him like WTF is a furry? He explained to me that years ago he created his fursona and it is a hobby that makes him feel at ease and happy. He said that he hid it from me because he was embarrassed and scared that I might leave him or laugh at him. He's a serious and professional man, not the kind of person who would dress like that. I assured him that I wasn't going to leave him and that I love him, that knowing my boyfriend uses a fox suit was the least attractive thing in the world, but I support his hobby. I didn't really think much about it. Did it seem weird to me? Yes, but at the time I thought I loved him so much that I was going to support him. It's just a hobby he does rarely, so it's not like he talks about that in our day by day. Neither is his way of being himself. He said he just likes to do the character, and it's not something with a deep meaning. It's been a year since that, and he's invited me to a furry event for the first time. I've never gotten into furry events. I hadn't seen him wearing his suit either. He wears it very rarely, because it's not my thing at all, but he invited me really excited and shy. I couldn't refuse to go with him because I also wanted to go and see what it's like and know that world. But when we got there it was like, oh, this is getting real, when I saw him park the car and put on his suit. I didn't have a suit, so my face was totally visible when we got out of the car a few streets back, and had to walk through the city center like that. I felt embarrassed, even if it's awful to say that. First we met his furry friends who were waiting in a park for him, and I found out that my boyfriend has a name that he uses when he's in character. They were nice, but no, it's not an everyday thing to see your boyfriend using a pet name, dressed as a fox and talking to other people who are also like that. Although some didn't have a suit, just a tail or nothing. I felt embarrassed because people around obviously walked by and laughed or looked curiously. A few minutes later we finally went to the place of the event, and it wasn't that many people, but a large group. Most of them without a suit and just wearing tails or just a mask. I know it's wrong to say it, but a lot of those people smelled musty, long hair so greasy you could fry an egg on it, just weird people. Years ago, I accompanied my sister to an otaku event, and it was 95% the same kind of people, like weird in the wrong way. I've never been in that kind of environment. My boyfriend isn't like that at all. He's attractive, smells good, has a normal life and work, and I don't think anyone would expect him to be a furry, so it was my first time seeing other furries in person beside him. At one point some of them started playing at removing each other's tails, some were doing choreographies and TikToks, some of them liked to do high jumps in For, not my BF. He was just walking around with me and just letting some people take pictures with him and then did a TikTok with another person. You know what it's like to see your boyfriend do a choreo dressed as a blue fox while asking you to call him by his furry name and pet his head? I do know it, and it was impossible for me not to change the way I see him. I didn't feel comfortable in the place. It bothered me a lot since there were some using harnesses in their suits. What is sexy about an animal? Some artists' stands had furry art which was pretty explicit. My boyfriend dislikes that kind of art. For him his persona is a performance. So I just felt even more weird because they're animals even if they call that a fursona. I felt weird, and since yesterday every time I see my boyfriend I can't help but think of him being part of those people and him dressed like that. I really love him, but I just feel like I got the ick, and I hate that because I always wanted to be the supportive girlfriend, but this is just too much. I don't want to talk about this with my boyfriend and make him feel ashamed of who he is and likes. I don't want to make him feel bad about my feelings. He's a great man. Really the only time I felt tenderness yesterday was when he hugged me thanking me for support him in this. I just feel like the worst person in the world, and the last thing I want is hurt his heart even if his friends are too weird for me. I just hope I can get over this icky feeling fast, but he's really happy and shows me pictures of the event telling me that we should go to another event together, and I just can't tell him that the last thing I want to do is go to one of those events again. I always supported him. I don't feel manipulated like some people says in the comments. I did wanted to go with him because I thought that maybe it was going to be fun. It wasn't. Edit. He's not into anything sexual. He told me that his character is a performative thing that he enjoys doing from time to time but doesn't find it exciting or comfortable fetishizing a fursona because at the end of day he's just making a character. Then he told me that for him it's like a person getting aroused by being dressed as Mickey for a play. He can't feel like that and finds it weird. We literally live together and share the PC. If he had strange movements I would notice them. He goes to those events very occasionally because he doesn't like the more weird side of furry. I know he's not a pervert, and no, my intuition doesn't tell me that he is that. My intuition just tells me that the people at that event smelled funny and that I don't want to set foot in that place again. Update. 4 days later. First of all, I never had any problem with him telling me after 3 years about this, and I said that in the first post. I always understood how afraid someone can feel to say who he is. Everyone has their secrets, and there's nothing wrong if you're not harming anyone with them, and after reading the comments people left on the post I understand the fear that my boyfriend had. Some people even told me that he was grooming me. It's just disgusting, like if I couldn't defend myself. I didn't need to talk to my boyfriend because during the night he sat down to talk to me and apologized. He showed me that one of his friends told him that the organizers of the event changed and that's why there were people with NSFW stuff. My boyfriend was also uncomfortable with that since the last time he went to that event those types of outfits were forbidden. He showed me pictures and yes, the atmosphere and people looked different. They found out too about it because some people started to complain about that in the IG of the event. It seems that there's public-friendly events and others that aren't like that, but the new people in charge of the event just changed a lot of things. I confessed to him that I didn't feel comfortable either, and he was surprised because after all I was smiling all the time and pretending that everything was fine, which is true. We talked a lot and he was very apologetic for how he behaved, said he should have gone without the suit and should have shown me pictures of the place before we went. Honestly, I never showed him discomfort and I was always with a fake smile, so I understand that he thought I was having a good time. My boyfriend just kept apologizing deeply. He said he didn't really know how to react since it was the first time he had taken someone so important to an event, so he behaved that way. He apologized for not thinking about how I might have felt and I apologized for not communicating my feelings too. I received literally more than 100 messages and comments telling me that my boyfriend is a pervert. I don't know much about the furry world, so I was disturbed when some people started to leave comments talking about things I didn't know about them. I had never distrusted him before. We share PC and I can use his cell phone whenever I want, but I am so stupid that it was difficult for me not to get carried away by more than 100 people telling me that I am dating a degenerate. I asked him if he doesn't really feel anything sexual by doing that. He never showed that, and from day one he made it clear to me that for him it's just a character. He doesn't even behave like an animal when he's in character. He wanted me to pat his head as a cute gesture. He was clearly upset that I didn't trust him, but he ended up giving me his cell phone so I could check whatever I wanted. It made me feel worse to see that his chat with his furry friends wasn't even too active since they all have busy lives, but they said that I'm really cool and they liked me. The rest of his stuff was just about his work and me. I feel really stupid for letting my head be filled with comments from sad strangers, but my boyfriend told me that he actually understands why I feel that way. It happened to him too. In the past he had a furry girlfriend, but she did have a fetish with that and that made him uncomfortable, so he ended the relationship. That's why my boyfriend doesn't date furry women. He says that the vast majority are weird people who ruin the community. He doesn't see his character as his true self and he doesn't identify with those who do. For him it's quite a character, like cosplaying, although he doesn't like anime or anything like that, so he prefers furry because he can do an original character. I said I was really sorry for thinking like that about him and told him about the post. He doesn't talk English, so I translated him some things, except the people who left weird comments. I promised him to have better communication with him about everything. I never felt manipulated. He never pressured me to do anything. I wanted to try to be part of his world, and no, I'm not a poor victim who fell into the clutches of a beast. Some people is really weird trying to look for a villain in every post. Someone even said that my boyfriend was love bombing me with pictures of the event to manipulate me. For God's sake, stop making up new terms and touch some grass. I just said that my boyfriend showed me pictures of the event because he was happy that I went with him and all of a sudden he's Charles Manson. Do these people have loved ones? It's too weird. I'd rather embrace that eccentric side of him than ruin a cute relationship just because I don't share his hobby. I really like going to raves, and he doesn't, but there's nothing wrong with that. We will have separated hobbies. I want to make a good live with him far away from the furries, with harnesses, and the NSFW art. And I learned my lesson of never posting again in this kind of places. The last time I checked the post, one person got downvoted just because they said that we sound adorable. I guess that's the vibe in this app. Thanks to the people who gave me good advices and was kind. Honestly, I stopped reading the post after a few comments. By the private messages I received, I know people really wanted an update about me leaving my boyfriend, but no, I want to think that actually this made us stronger. I want to be a better girlfriend for him and gift him clothes for his character. PD, I guess the ick was just the shock I had because we had sex as usual. Why would I leave a hard-working kind man who loves me devotedly just because he has a hobby that I can't relate to? The blue fox is still mine and now I love him even more.